Hello and welcome to GatherVerse News Unscripted. I'm your host, Priya David Clemens. It is great to see you here again today. We bring you humanity-centered tech journalism. Today, we are going to be talking about an issue we've heard about from time to time: artificial intelligence, the blockchain. How can it be used to improve the systems that we have in society today? We've spoken a fair amount over past episodes about the harms, right? We've talked about how can these new technologies really hurt us as a society in terms of spreading misinformation very rapidly, in terms of creating deep fakes in photos and videos, disseminating them at breakneck speed. We want to talk about harnessing the power of some of these new technologies to do good instead. Our guest today is going to be coming up in a few minutes, and he has a new project to end fake news by incentivizing the truth through leveraging the power of the blockchain. First, we want to say a thank you to today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is WineXP. WineXP is the digital booking platform that brings together everything you need for wine trip in Portugal. And today was a big day for Congress. It is the very first hearing that they're holding about artificial intelligence. We've been talking about this coming for a few days now. Sam Altman went to Congress and spoke to them about his projects at OpenAI with ChatGPT, but he wasn't alone. Congress members also heard from two others. They heard from Christina Montgomery, IBM's vice president and chief privacy and trust officer, as well as Gary Marcus. Gary Marcus is a former New York University professor and a self-described critic of the AI hype. He has worked in the industry and had AI businesses in the past as well. You're going to hear now about 5 minutes from today's much longer congressional testimony. It was before a Senate Judiciary Subcommittee. Why don't we go ahead and take a listen to what they had to say?
The oversight of artificial intelligence, the first in a series of hearings intended to write the rules of AI. Our goal is to demystify and hold accountable those new technologies to avoid some of the mistakes of the past. Congress failed to meet the moment on social media. Now we have the obligation to do it on AI before the threats and the risks become real. We also know the potential harms, and we've seen them already: weaponized disinformation, housing discrimination, harassment of women and impersonation fraud, voice cloning, deep fakes. These are the potential risks despite the other rewards. And for me, perhaps the biggest nightmare is the looming new industrial revolution, the displacement of millions of workers, the loss of huge numbers of jobs, the need to prepare for this new industrial revolution in skill training and relocation that may be required. And already industry leaders are calling attention to those challenges.
ChatGPT and generative AI, these large language models, it's really like the invention of the internet in scale, at least, and potentially far, far more significant than that. We could be looking at one of the most significant technological innovations in human history. And I think my question is, what kind of an innovation is it going to be? Is it going to be like the printing press that diffused knowledge and power and learning widely across the landscape, that empowered ordinary, everyday individuals, that led to greater flourishing, that led above all to greater liberty? Or is it going to be more like the atom bomb? Huge technological breakthrough, but the consequences, severe, terrible, continue to haunt us to this day. I don't know the answer to that question. I don't think any of us in the room know the answer to that question, because I think the answer has not yet been written. And to a certain extent, it's up to us here and to us as the American people to write the answer. What kind of technology will this be? How will we use it to better our lives? How will we use it to actually harness the power of technological innovation for the good of the American people, for the liberty of the American people, not for the power of the few?
It is essential that powerful AI is developed with democratic values in mind, and this means that US leadership is critical. I believe that we will be able to mitigate the risks in front of us and really capitalize on this technology's potential to grow the US economy and the world's. And I look forward to working with you all to meet this moment, and I look forward to answering your questions. Thank you.
We recognize that society grants our license to operate. And with AI, the stakes are simply too high. We must build, not undermine the public trust. The era of AI cannot be another era of move fast and break things. But we don't have to slam the brakes on innovation either. These systems are within our control today, as are the solutions. What we need at this pivotal moment is clear, reasonable policy and sound guardrails.
There are benefits, but we don't yet know whether they will outweigh the risks. Fundamentally, these new systems are going to be destabilizing. They can and will create persuasive lies at a scale humanity has never seen before. Outsiders will use them to affect our elections, insiders to manipulate our markets and our political systems. Democracy itself is threatened. Chatbots will also clandestinely shape our opinions, potentially exceeding what social media can do. Choices about data sets that AI companies use will have enormous unseen influence. Those who choose the data will make the rules, shaping society in subtle but powerful ways.
Having a vibrant national media is critically important, and let's call it round one of the internet has not been great for that.
Right. We're talking here about local, that, report on your high school football scores and a scandal in your city council, those kinds of things.
For sure.
They're the ones that are actually getting the worst, the little radio stations and broadcast. But do you understand that this could be exponentially worse in terms of local news content if they're not compensated?
Well,
because what they need is to be compensated for their content and not have it stolen.
Yeah, again, our model, the current version of GPT-4 ended training in 2021. It's not a good way to find recent news, and I don't think it's a service that can do a great job of linking out. Although maybe with our plugins, it's possible. If there are things that we can do to help local news, we would certainly like to. Again, I think it's critically important.
Okay.
All right, so that gave you an overview of what we heard this morning. I rushed to get that edited and on for you today so you could see what was said just moments ago, truly this morning here in the United States, in the Capitol, to see how seriously our nation's leaders are taking this time of technological change. It is a tsunami of change that is coming, that we are all going to be experiencing in a variety of ways. And then at the end, I did tack on that little bit of an interchange between Amy Klobuchar and Sam Altman so that we could talk a bit about news and journalism, because that is the topic of our show today. I want to go ahead and bring on our guest today. His name is Linton Johnson. Linton and I have known each other for a long time, but not in this capacity. Linton has been a journalist, a fellow journalist, and a communications professional here in the San Francisco Bay. In the last few years, he has started a brand new project. It is called Ovis. Linton is the founder and the chief visionary officer for Ovis, and it's a new journalism platform. Ovis is a new journalism platform which has been created to end fake news, to incentivize the truth through leveraging the power of the blockchain. We're going to get into it and all of the details of what Ovis is. But Linton, I got to ask you first, what did you think about what you heard in that testimony to Congress today and also from our elected leaders?
Well, I mean, I'm glad Senator Klobuchar is worried about local journalism because, we're seeing lots of news deserts out there. What that means is a place that doesn't have a local newspaper or any type of accountability for our elected officials in the journalism realm, right? So we need great local journalism. And what's been happening is Google and some of these other major corporations have been taking information from the limited local journalism platforms that are out there and then using it and making money off of it and not compensating the people who created that local journalism. And I think when I heard Sam Altman say that he was, very serious about helping local journalism, it didn't feel like a real firm commitment there.
So
And I'm hoping.
what are you going to be doing, Mr. Altman?
Yeah. I want to see a check written out for these local journalism folks. That's what I want to see, because local journalism is important. She was talking about, Senator Klobuchar was talking about, city council races and all those very important things that affect our lives. We think a lot about the national races and presidential, but the stuff that has the day-to-day impact is your mayors, your city council, the potholes on the streets, and what are they doing with your money? All of that is so important, and we need journalism to be, the fourth estate. We need people on the ground who understand your community and who are funded in a way so they can make sure that our money is being used, your tax money is being used. You said that it should be used. We need that accountability.
Yeah, and I was just hearing about a new bill that here in California, a local assembly member is bringing forward. Assembly member Buffy Wicks,
yes,
is authoring a bill to make big tech pay some of those usage fees for the news that it is pulling from local outlets.
Yes. And that's really important, because she represents Silicon, the Bay Area, which is Silicon Valley, and all these big tech companies. So if we can start it here and get this passed here, hopefully that will spread across the nation.
All right. Well, let's turn a little bit, although we're on the topic here, man, of journalism and how it can be changed. First of all, Linton, set up the problem for us. We know in general about fake news. How bad is this problem? How much has faith in journalism been eroded?
Well, a Gallup poll, which was last September, showed they've been measuring people's trust in journalism for 50 years. And journalism, local news in general, received the second lowest rating in 50 years. Only 6% of people have faith in the news that they watch. 6%. Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
6%. Yeah, 6%. So that means 97. That means 94. I can't do math because I'm a journalist, but 94% of people have some sort of distrust in the media, and that shouldn't be. I mean, journalism is a well-functioning news. I'm sorry, what I'm trying to say. Trust in journalism is important in a well-functioning democracy. We need to have a credible news outlet, credible news media, so that way people can have faith that they're doing the checks on our local officials.
Right, absolutely. And so that we have some common understandings of what is happening in society. Tell us about how you're tackling this problem.
Well, listen, I think one of the biggest problems is ratings and clicks. That's the business model right now for most news organizations, especially the major corporations. There are 6 major corporations that control virtually everything that we see and hear. And so if they create a narrative, 90% of the world, or 90% of America, I should say, is going to see that narrative. And so they control a lot of minds. And so what but they're doing it based upon ratings and clicks. They just want to do things that are focusing on increasing those ratings or increasing those clicks. So the truth isn't always paramount. I know they say they want to go after the truth, but the focus isn't on the truth, it's on ratings and clicks. So what we want to do is kind of turn the paradigm around. We want to focus everybody's attention on the truth and incentivize the one thing that we're all after, and that is truth telling. So we know money moves the world. We have to have money to pay our bills. And so let's incentivize the one thing that we're all after, and that's the truth. And so that's how we do it with Ovis.
Okay. What does that mean? Because you are looking at using new technologies. You're not doing it with the same tools that we have had in the past.
Yeah, blockchain technology. When I first started learning about blockchain technology, I thought, oh my gosh, the technology, the virtues of blockchain are all the same values that we share as journalists. So, when you're a journalist, you want to give voice to the voiceless. You want transparency. You want accountability. And you want a permanent record. We really like permanent records. We want to know what we're saying is true because there's a record of it. Everything those are the same virtues of blockchain. It is transparent. Everybody can look on the blockchain and see the information. It is accountable because when you record something on the blockchain, you have to put your name down that this is what you're putting on the blockchain, and then everybody can see it. And because it's a permanent record, you can't change what you put on the blockchain. So if you kind of apply that to journalism, the way we're applying it to journalism is that we want our journalists to record their facts on the blockchain and put their name to it. And then we're going to add an additional measure, and that is if they put something that is incorrect on the blockchain, because it's transparent, the community can then see whether or not this is true, and they can hold those journalists accountable. And the way we've designed it is that we can hold journalists financially accountable for putting misinformation or fake news on the blockchain. But the whole point, though, is to incentivize truth telling. We don't want to punish journalists. We want to reward journalists. And so the way we do it, and what you're looking at is our pilot site, our test platform right now. And the whole focus right now is Ovis it. So our model right now is don't believe it, Ovis it. So if you see something out there that you think that might be fake, then you Ovis it. And what that means is you can put a story idea, you can create a story idea, or you can ask our fact checkers to look into something, and they will write a story about it by simply Ovising it. Is this a video that's going to roll? I'm not sure.
You're going to have to explain that catchphrase, Ovising it. All right. I hear it. I think it's great. Let's go for it. But what does that even mean?
Well, I mean, so when you Google something, I guess you can Google it. If you're trying to find out more information on Ovis, you Ovis it. So it's kind of a play off of that, I suppose. But the whole idea is to engage our audience. And so what you're looking at are story ideas that other people have submitted. They thought that this is a story that the news should cover. And so they Ovised it. They put their story idea on the platform, and then other people will look at all the different story ideas that are out there, and they can upvote those stories. So right now we're looking at what happened to Deshaun Watson's accusers. Somebody wanted to know what happened. So they put that story out there. And then other people are looking at the platform. They go, hey, I want to know more about that as well. And so they upvoted that story with their tokens. And you can see this story has 230 tokens. Let's just say that every single token is worth $1. So this story would come with a purse of $230. A journalist would say, I would write that story for $230 and most of that money. And so what they do is they write the story, and then they have to submit it to fact checkers. These are independent certified fact checkers that the community has approved. And at least 3 of them have to fact check the story. And then 2/3 of them have to agree on the facts. So this isn't just a story that somebody writes. The fact checkers have to get involved, and they have to come to consensus on the information being factually accurate. And then what happens is the story then gets published. And then that $230 purse that you just saw gets distributed mostly to the journalists, a little bit to the fact checkers, a little bit to the editor. But the person who created the story idea, they also get rewarded with some tokens. They get cash as well. And then finally, the remaining portion of that purse gets distributed amongst the entire community. So we're all sharing in the rewards for putting out good, trustworthy, verifiable information. But here's the cool part. Everybody got rewarded, but let's just say we find out that there's some misinformation and that maybe the journalist was purposely spreading fake news or misinformation. Then we can hold that journalist accountable because everything was recorded on the blockchain. We know who wrote the story. We know when they wrote the story. That we know all the details about how they wrote the story. And we can research whether that was that the misinformation was purposely spread, and then we can hold the journalists accountable to that. Same thing for the fact checkers, same thing for the editors. Everybody who's involved in that process is now held accountable because, first of all, you're not going to want to put down any misinformation because you can be held accountable. So you're always going to be striving to put down the truth. But if somebody does want to, push out misinformation or fake news, then they can be held accountable through the blockchain technology.
It seems like, it's very high quality, sort of high touch journalism that you're talking about here. How do you think that's going to stand up in a world where we are constantly going to be kind of spammed by a ton of news, a ton of media, often potentially not true? How will Ovis, sort of cut through so much of the chatter that we're going to be seeing?
Well, what we're trying to do is create the world's most trusted database of information. So, you can go out on the web, you can go out and find other stories, but you don't know where the information came from. It's hard to find out where the source of the information was, and certainly you can't hold anybody accountable. So if you know you can hold people accountable at Ovis, we hope that people will come here because we'll be the source of trustworthy, verifiable, and accountable information. And anytime anything is wrong, you know exactly who to go to and hold them accountable for correcting it. So our database hopefully will be the most trusted database in the world because all the information is organic and original. It started with the people who are putting out the information, the journalists and fact checkers, and it's recorded on the blockchain. So it's all authentic, it's all trustworthy, it's all verifiable, and it's all accountable.
All right. And if people want to know more about the project, want to know more about you, I'm assuming go to
ovisnews.com. Sign up. We are about to do our first pilot launch in the city of Hayward, California. We have about 15 journalists and fact checkers and editors ready to go. What we're going to be doing is we're going to start with our first 100 club. Basically, these are the first 100 people to help test our platform. And you know what's cool about this and what's very different about this is that this is completely people powered. So even the story ideas, as you saw in that video, the story ideas that get published that turn into stories are from the people. It's not from a select group of editors or folks who are trying to push information on you. This is all community-based. So the people pick the stories. I have zero control over the stories. It's all about the people picking the stories, upvoting those stories, and then the journalists writing those stories.
I think it's going to be fascinating to see how this project grows over time. Crowdsourced information, looking at making it verifiable and incentivizing the truth. Really fascinating project and one to watch. So thank you for sharing the information with us today.
Thank you for inviting me on the show. This is great. I love GatherVerse and I love your mission. Your mission's amazing.
Humanity-centered tech journalism,
yes,
man.
Yes.
Needed right now, definitely needed. All right, thank you again, Linton.
You're welcome. All right, thank you, Priya.
All right, and we also want to say another big thank you today to our show sponsor. Oh, before that, though, let me tell you about tomorrow's show. Tomorrow, Lisa Bernard is going to be having on our second Pioneer profile, as well as the latest tech headlines. So every Wednesday, we take an in-depth look at someone who's a leader in Web3 and who's also committed to considering the impact that emerging tech has on humanity and our society. And this week, we're going to be introducing you to Avi Bar-Zeev, and we're going to be learning about a nonprofit he founded to ensure ethical principles are being considered in Web3 and the metaverse. And as I mentioned, another thank you to our show sponsor today, WineXP. WineXP is a digital platform that connects you to the best wineries in Portugal. Its user-friendly website and app enables you to quickly and easily search, find, instantly book, and pay for wine experiences of your choice. If you'd like to sponsor us, you can find more information about that on GatherVerse.org. Friends, thank you so much, as always, for joining us. Thank you for being a part of this journey with us as we explore how new technologies are changing lives. We hope you enjoyed that highlight reel of what happened today in Congress at the very first AI hearing. We will be continuing to bring you news as it is happening. So this is a place that you can come not only to hear about interesting new innovations, pioneers, technical and ethical challenges that we're seeing as these new technologies emerge, but also like news of the day and what is happening each and every day as we go forward. All right. Thank you very much for being here, part of GatherVerse News Unscripted today. We'll see you again tomorrow at noon. Take care.